Good morning and good evening. I'm Ochanda with Kush News, top stories for Africa and the Caribbean. Welcome to our diaspora viewers and listeners. Once again, I'm Ochanda with Kush News. Let's begin. Nigeria postpones election for state governors. The Independent National Electoral Commission, known as INEC, has postponed elections for state governors and local assemblies by 1 week, citing logistical challenges. The polls have been scheduled to take place, or had been scheduled to take place on Saturday, March 11th, 2023. They will now be pushed back to March 18th, 2023. INEC Commissioner and Chairman of Voter Education and Publicity, Festus Okoye, in a statement said that this decision had not been taken lightly, but it was necessary to ensure that there was adequate time to back up the data stored over 176,000 voting machines from the presidential and national assembly elections held on February 25th, 2023, and to reconfigure them for the governor and state assembly elections. INEC introduced the bimodal voter accreditation system known as the BVAS for the first time as part of the new technologies used in this year's elections in a bid to improve transparency. But observer groups and opposition parties said huge delays in voting and failures in the system when upholding tallies allowed for ballot disparities during the presidential election. It is worth noting that presidential candidate Peter Obi is looking to challenge the presidential election results. Those in Nigeria and those fans of Nigeria, let us know what you think about the postponement of state governors, as well as what did you think of the results of the recent presidential election. Let's go to East Africa. Let's go to Kenya. All right, reporting from Kenya. Uh, First female Minister of Parliament, Grace Onyango, has passed away. Reporting from Kisumu, Kenya's first female member of Parliament, Mama, as she was called, Grace Onyango, has passed away at the age of 98 Wednesday evening, receiving treatment at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referring Hospital in Kisumu. The celebrated icon was a woman of many fists who started out as a teacher and later served as the first female mayor of Kisumu town from 1965 to 1969. In 1969, she was elected as the first female MP in post-independence Kenya, representing Kisumu town constituency. In Parliament, she's remembered for her no remorse demeanor as she stood firm and championed for the rights of women. In a male-dominated House, Mama Grace Onyango went ahead and became the first woman to act as a deputy speaker, a position that she held for 5 years. She also took a break from politics after losing a seat in 1984. Her daughter, Pauline Akwacha, said that the former legislator's death on the International Women's Day had left a big gap in the family and across the country. She described her mom as a mentor and a pillar for those who work to impact positively of women all over across the country. Mama Grace's cause to champion for women's rights was evidence in the number of key positions held by women in the country today. Current Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o said in a statement that he described her as a pillar for women leadership and a great role model who blazed the trail in the country's political leadership. He said Grace was selfless, focused, and a visionary, a mother and a grandmother to many. She'll be remembered for mentoring young girls and women leaders. From Kush News, rest in peace to Mama Grace Onyango and to the people of Kisumu Town and Nyanza Province, Nyanza region. Our thoughts go out to you. If you're in Kenya, let us know in the comments below on your thoughts and your prayers. All right, and we go to North Africa and Tunisia. right. And the conversation at hand is Tunisia's president has called for urgent measures against illegal immigration of sub-Saharan African nationals. In a recent speech, he said that they were the source of violent crime and unacceptable acts. His comments were condemned by the international community and paused talks over future engagement with Tunisia. They also led to widespread protests in Tunisia while hundreds of migrants fled the country. President Kais Saied, in his statement, described the immigrant situation in Tunisia as a push to change the racial demographic of Tunisia from a less Arab state into a more African state. Sub-Saharan immigrants in Tunisia come primarily from West Africa. Immigrants in Tunisia account for 0.5% of the national population. Documented immigrants number around 21,000 persons out of a total immigrant population of 58,000, according to a recent study. These figures are important. They show that immigrants will make up a very small number of foreigners compared with the national population. There are different types of sub-Saharan immigrants. Many students from West Africa come to Tunisia because they obtained a scholarship or wish to continue their training in Tunisian universities. There are several bilateral university agreements between Tunisia and various West African countries. Other migrants come to Tunisia for labor because they are en route to go to Europe. However, for these, there are no precise statistical data as they are irregular. To give a figure, though, back in 2021, at least 23,328 migrants were intercepted by Tunisian authorities trying to get through to Europe. What is the current policies towards immigrants like? Well, to be clear, it is selectively discriminatory. Tunisia is quite open with European immigrants and very restrictive with non-European citizens. The bottom line is that Tunisia's approach to migration and migrants' rights between the need to comply with international standards and the necessity to maximize the benefits of citizens living abroad. This means it needs to try to keep its migration policies quite open. At the same time, it wants to act as a credible player in the fight against irregular migration. The African Union has made claims of racism towards the Tunisian president. And when it comes to social tensions, migration has been used in many countries as a means to discipline public opinion while scapegoating foreigners. One example is South Africa, where migrants are scapegoated as inequality and unemployment opportunities. Tunisia has a problem indeed. For those that are in Tunisia, let us know your thoughts. For those that have been to Tunisia at all, or those that are looking towards traveling to the North African countries, let us know your thoughts as well. We stay in North Africa and we go to Egypt. Journalists go on trial this week in Egypt for offending Minister of Parliaments. 3 journalists from Egypt's last remaining independent news outlet have gone on trial in Cairo on charges of misusing social media and offending members of parliament. The media house, Mada Masir news platform, has these 3 face up to 2 years in prison and fines up to 300,000 Egyptian currencies if the court convicts them. The trial stems from a complaint issued by the nation's Future Party over a Mada Masur story published last August that revealed how a government watchdog had discovered examples of quote-unquote gross financial misconduct among leading party members. In the weeks that followed, the outlet said that the nation's future MPs had caught the 3 journalists and Mada Masur's editor-in-chief with dozens of identical legal complaints filed at police stations across Egypt, leading to the interrogation of the media outlet and the journalists across the country. Prosecutors in Cairo also summoned all 4 journalists for questioning about their sources and the outlet's operations, accusing them of spreading quote-unquote false news and offending members of parliament, defaming the nation's future MPs. Observers said the case against the Egyptian media outlet and its journalists marked yet another round of attacks in the outlet and further message to media attempting to work inside the country. saying, quote unquote, this judicial harassment is a clear attack on journalists and the independent press in Egypt. Well, that is your top stories for today, March 9th, 2023. I'm Ochanda with Kush News. Enjoy.